Hi, everyone. Welcome to my Minnow Musings. And before we get started, I just want to explain my shirt. It says, "We've got hope with Pope." It has nothing to do with the Catholic Pope. It has everything to do with UK, University of Kentucky men's basketball coach, Mark Pope, who is a fantastic guy. I am a big fan. That has to do with the shirt and nothing to do with the Catholic Pope. Although I am a confirmed Catholic, that's not why I'm so that being said, just so I don't get extra mail or whatever asking what that's about. So today's Minnow Musings is about your PM or your nighttime routine. And the reason this is important is because when you have a set routine, especially at night, if you tend to be an anxious person, maybe you're struggling with insomnia, different things like that, when you have that regular routine, that signals your body, your brain, your mind that it's time to go to sleep. You're starting that process and it knows, oh, we're getting ready to go to sleep. This is what we're doing. So that is why it is very important to have that. Now, I will also say here, before I give you what I do as part of my nighttime routine primarily, this is what works for me in my life and my circumstances right now. This isn't what I've always done. Probably next year, I'll probably make another tweak or something to this, but this is what I do right now because this is what works for me right now. So, by giving you what I do before I go to sleep is really to kind of give you ideas of things you can incorporate in your regular nighttime routine in case you don't have one, so you can kind of be thinking along those lines. And remember, you don't necessarily want to do what I do. You want to do what works for you and what works for you right now. So we'll get into a little bit what I do. So obviously, I'm going to brush my teeth. I'm going to remove my makeup. I don't sleep in my makeup. I'm a big girl. I act like a big girl. I'm going to wash off my makeup before I go to bed. Your nighttime skincare routine, any nighttime supplements or medications, you would have those here. I put on lotion before bedtime just because this time of year, as we're going into winter, my skin tends to be a little bit on the drier side. So I like to have that moisturization before I go to bed. So I will have that. See, I get everything out and ready for my morning routine. So as I put my nighttime routine stuff underneath the cabinet or underneath the sink, I get all of my morning stuff out. So that's ready to go for my morning routine. I don't have to fiddle with it, all the same things. Same thing makes my morning routine easier if I get my outfit ready for the next day as part of my nighttime routine. So there's no, I've got to try this on to make sure it fits, make sure it looks right. No, you do all that as part of your nighttime routine, so you're not fiddling with all of that stuff in the morning and then getting frustrated and all of that kind of stuff. Do that night before. Sometimes, a couple times a week, I really like an Epsom salts bath, so I will do that as part of my nighttime routine 2 or 3 times a week. That also really helps me sleep. Why? Well, not only is it relaxing, but if you remember, Epsom salt is a type of magnesium, and then that magnesium gets absorbed into the skin, which can help facilitate good sleep. So I do like to do that. I read a little bit. This is a time when I typically will gratitude journal, just kind of clear things out from my day. Depending on how I feel, I might do some breath work, some relaxing breath work before going to sleep because that helps facilitate calmness and all those kinds of things. I might listen to instrumental yoga music, or what I call yoga music, usually Native American flute, that sort of thing. Before I go to bed, I will usually listen to that while I'm journaling, while I'm reading. That really helps take it down. I will also tidy up my sleep space. So I sleep in my bedroom with my husband. So I will make sure that any folded clothes from laundry that day, everything is put in drawers or hanging up in the closet. Everything's back in its place. I'll tidy up my nightstand because that's right next to my bed. My makeup table is in my bedroom. It's not in my bathroom. So I do not have clutter on my makeup table before I go to bed. That's probably one of the things that I just said, get everything out for your AM routine. I don't get my makeup out ahead of time. I have a pretty consistent makeup routine anyway, but I don't like that clutter being out right before I go to bed. And it's amazing how when you declutter your space, how calming that is. So try that as part of your routine. And I also, a couple other things, I try to be asleep by 10 p.m. and I try not to eat anything within 2 hours of bedtime. Now, you're traveling or whatever, sometimes that's not always possible. But for the most part, remember, it's what you do most of the time and all of the time that make the biggest difference, not sometimes or occasionally. So I do try to have that consistent bedtime, just like I have a consistent wake up time. So those are just the things that I do. And another thing that I'll throw in here real quick, if you have a partner, whether that's a husband, a wife, whatever it is, and this isn't possible for everybody, but it works really nice if you're both on the same sleep and awake schedule. There is nothing more frustrating than for you to start to go into a nice, deep, comfortable sleep only to be woken up 2 hours later by somebody that's now decided that they're going to go to bed. And when they try to be quiet, they tend to get louder and they're going through drawers and all of the things, all the things. So try to have that conversation if possible and try to get on the same schedule. So that being said, that's what I do. Now it's time for you to figure out what works best for you. And remember, tweak it as you go along. What I do this year may not be what I do next year. And it is certainly not necessarily everything that I did last year. You have to change things as your circumstances and everything change. So I hope this was helpful for you. This kind of goes right along with last week's, which is prioritizing sleep. This is one of those things that kind of helps with that. So I hope this was helpful. And please feel free to share this with others. Drop me a line or a note below, and I will see you again real soon. Have a good day.